Hello, this is Jason Blumer, and we teach on growth, pricing, strategy of firm growth. We teach on marketing and selling, and those are the things I'm going to be talking about in my 2 sessions at QuickFest. So I'm really excited to be here. We've even developed some great handouts. So you're going to be able to take some handouts away from this session and learn a lot. Even, after this session is over. So I'm really, really excited to do this. So this session, this is my first session. This is Marketing 101, a practical guide for new cloud practices. So if you're ready to be a tech-forward firm, or you want to move into the cloud, or you're more of a traditional firm and you want to start to change, we're going to talk about what marketing teaches you in doing that. And so these are the basic marketing tactics that I've been using for many, many years. A lot of them I learned the hard way. And here's a little bit of bio of me. And this lets you know that the reason I do teach for Intuit a lot is because I run my own firm, and I have for 20 years. I've been in the public profession of accounting for 30 years now, close to 30 years. This will be my 30th year. So that's a long time. And 20 years as an entrepreneurial firm owner. And that's what we call a lot of the people we lead. You'll see in Thrival. Thrival is a company, it is a community that my partner and I run. And that's where we teach entrepreneurial firm owners how to run firms, how to scale their firm, how to build their firms around technology, how to niche and market, how to do these strategic risk-based moves that we all have to make when we run our own businesses. And it's not easy. This is not easy to do. So I'm glad I get to help share some of the things that I've gone through. I won't read all of my bio, but you do see Thrival is a big part of how we teach and lead through programs, events, curriculum, and then through our firm, we lead very specifically a narrow niche of creative digital agencies all over the United States. And our team is all over the United States too. We went virtual about 10 years ago. And so we've really been learning how to be virtual for a long time. It's just the way we do it now. We didn't have to go virtual during the pandemic, thankfully. So I'm excited to do this. So let's dive in. And the way I want to dive in is really talk about my own firm's marketing history and the lessons I've learned. And it's taken a long time to get here. So I have about 600,000 LinkedIn followers, about 10,500 Twitter followers, and I can't remember how many Facebook and Instagram followers we have, but those are the 4 main platforms we post on. We used to do all of the marketing internally ourselves when we didn't have that much to do. And then we hired somebody internally as a team member to manage a lot of our the posting on socials, and I would make videos in my office just like this and with our setup. And then we finally outsourced this to an agency, a marketing agency that works very closely with us. And that's because it's gotten so complex now that it's taken that. And so I want to give you a little bit about what that looks like. So we started back in, I went on Twitter in 2008. So that was a long time ago. So I've been on that platform for many, many years. That's why I have 10,500 followers. But hey, followers sometimes doesn't matter. Really, what matters is engagement with people. And I'm busy running Thrival and running our firm. I'm really privately caring for our Thrival members. So I'm not always posting on Twitter and LinkedIn. I do sometimes when I have something to say, but often that's on my calendar to post on there, but I don't always post as much as I want. I don't write as much as I want. I do more videos now than writing. But it's a very iterative growth type path to figure out your own marketing. So one thing I want to say about Marketing 101 is to really just give yourself permission to grow in learning how to do it. It's really, it's hard to do. It's not a very easy thing to do. And you get better at it. You try over time. Right now, it's gotten to a level where it's so complex. We're posting on 4 different social platforms, which is LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And we're posting for our firm, and then we're posting on the same 4 platforms for Thrival. So that's 8 platforms that we're posting on a weekly basis. And then I have a podcast. I've been doing a podcast for Thrival since 2011. So it's over 10 years old. I've also been doing a podcast for the narrow niche that we work with, the digital agency niche. That podcast is called The Businessology Show. I've been doing that podcast for over 10 years as well. Now, both of these I've had guests with, I have guests sometimes I'll just talk by myself. I've had co-hosts with me on those podcasts. Now I don't have co-hosts. So marketing is very iterative and it changes over time. So I just want you to give yourself permission to really try things and to be frustrated with it and try something different. It's okay. That's how you grow into marketing. And so now ours is complex enough that we have other people help us. They post things onto the platforms for us, onto the websites, and it's much easier now for us. And so let's talk about some marketing lessons, that I've learned. The first one is planning. When you really do dive into marketing, you have to do a lot of planning. Now we spend many, many hours planning. My partner reviews all the marketing. So our marketing agency posts everything online, but my partner is still reviewing that, making sure it matches our brand, that things aren't misspelled, because that's an agency we use and they hire people to do our work. And so sometimes they're busy, so they may overlook a spelling. And so we have to view that. Sometimes we want to say something very specific about things going on in the world. We have to tell our marketing agency, hey, we want you to make a post about this. So there's all kinds of planning. So what we have to do monthly, and often my partner and the operations manager will go into a planning meeting with our agency to tell them what is the strategy of things coming up in our firm's life that we want to share with the world. And we have to tell them those things. They don't know what we want to focus on. And so we do a lot of planning. And then I do all the podcast content. So I write the content and the questions for the guests, and I'm in charge of getting the guests for our podcasts. So I have to plan that in advance. I have to search for guests, and I know a lot of people, so it's not too hard, but I do have to make searching for guests part of what I do. And then I have planning calendar blocks for writing the questions for the guests. So planning is a huge part of what you're going to do. If you're going to just, let's say you aren't doing things that complicated, which you shouldn't start out complicated. You should always start as simply as possible. And that would be writing a blog post once a month and maybe making a video once a month. Those are going to be very, very simple things that you want to try to follow. Those are still going to take planning. I used to write a blog post and not think about it before I would write it. I would just pull up a Google Doc and start writing it. And I often didn't know what I wanted to write about. And so it took me time to get into the writing. But I started planning what my blog posts were. I started laying them out and just starting new blog posts periodically when I had an idea. So I'd have a bunch of unfinished Google Doc blog posts. And that kind of in advance planning is what really helped me to just roll into a calendar block on my calendar to produce a blog post. And so planning is what really did it. And then over time, I've learned how many words I do. About a 300 to 400 word blog post is a small, simple blog post. That's all you need when you first start. I'll go up to sometimes 5,000 word ebooks that sometimes I'll write for sponsors and into it. I've written our own book. So you can go to thrival.com and you can get a growth book. It's about that long, 5,000 words. And so that takes a lot more planning. So just give yourself time as you're working through marketing and really start small. That's where you're going to really grow. The second lesson I want to talk about is iterative. I'm kind of mentioning that a little bit, is that this is a very iterative process when you go through marketing. Iterative means you don't know what kind of marketing you're going to be doing 2 years from now. So you can't really plan the marketing you're going to do 2 years. You have to start now and start this month or start this year. And when you start this year, you want to start doing things and you'll learn over time, and then you're going to change things. So your marketing is not going to look the same 5 years from now as it does today. And that's okay. That's where you got to give yourself a break and be very iterative and know that your marketing is going to grow over time. And then a third lesson is that it does take time. Marketing impact takes time. So let me talk a little bit about this. Other agencies have actually, marketing agencies have taught us this. If you want sales, if you want new clients, and you go, oh no, I'm not getting client leads or I'm not getting sales, and you think I got to go market more. It doesn't work that way because marketing takes a long time to bring those clients and those sales to you. So you got to remember, marketing takes a really long time for it to have its effect. So you'll often market now and you won't feel the effects really for 6 to 8 months of marketing. And you have to be consistent with that. That's a little bit frustrating with marketing. And now we've been doing it for so long, we have such a broad, wide spread of marketing that we push out into the US market that everybody is always seeing our content all the time. And it has to just be that way. It has to wash over, so to speak, our market so that when they're ready to work with a firm like ours, they're going to always be reminded of what we do. But it's taken, it probably, when we launched our brand new websites are part of your marketing and your branding. When we launched our brand new websites a year or so ago, we knew it would take a couple years. And here we are into our second year of the brand new website. So if you go to blummercpas.com and thrival.com, you'll see our websites. Those are about 2 years old. And of course, we've had sites for much longer than that, but those are about 2 years old with brand new brands that we were pushing into the market. Here we are 2 years in, and just now people are starting to feel the weight of that new brand and recognize us as a higher value type offering, which is what we were going for with those new brands. So it takes time. So give yourself a break when you go through that. Again, this is a marketing 101 class. So we're going to talk about the difference between marketing and selling. There is a difference, and you see them on my screen here. Really, the definition of marketing is it's consistently messaging a target market with relevant, actionable information. And then selling is educating a qualified lead about them giving you money in exchange for valuable services. So I want to break down each one of those and really talk about how important they are. So for marketing, consistency is key. So when we do our podcasts, we want one podcast to come out the 15th of every single month. The other one comes out the 25th of every single month. And we've been doing that for years. And what we have to do is recognize that people are waiting on the content. They know around the 15th that the podcast is supposed to be in the podcast player. So our consistency makes our messaging very reliable. So if you want to write a blog post once a month, I would do it at the same time. Marketing is about being very consistent. And then a target market. If you want to market well, you want to target some market. So for us, that's niching, right? It's narrowing into a particular market. Creative digital agencies, that's the kind of niching we do. That's our target market. So we don't market to everybody. Marketing is best done to a target and not to the whole world, because you can't target and touch the whole world. You can only market to a very narrow part of a target market. So it's really important to know, who is your target? Who are you trying to reach? That's who you need to write for and reach out to. And it's relevant. So you want your content to be relevant. You want it to make sense. Not only for you, you want it to make sense to the people you're trying to get to become your client. Now, one thing accountants do a lot when they write blog posts, they'll write blog posts that has technical information in it in a way that's really good for other accounting firms. So you may be like this. If you're looking for tax research or something you're trying to learn about or find out about in your industry as an accountant, sometimes you'll find that content on other accountants' blog posts. And that's not really what it's supposed to be. Your blog posts are supposed to be things that are relevant to your client. So what I try to do is write things that might be technical for our clients, but it's to let them know, hey, this is just enough information for you to want to hire us. Or I'll write a lot about growth and strategy of growing a digital agency. Those are the things that our clients are going to be very interested in. They want to know about growth. And so I want to write about growth because my marketing is trying to attract them to come to me. I'm not writing for other accountants. That's really important, especially in our industry. Our profession does that a lot. We write in ways that are interesting to other accountants, and those are not our market. So make it relevant. And then actionable data or content. You always want everything you do to have what we call a CTA or a call to action. You want to tell them, purchase from us, come to our website, fill out our lead form, act like you want to be a client. You call them out and say, do you need help? Did you like the content in this blog post? If so, email us, reach out to us, or click the link below. These are things marketing is always meant to trigger someone to make some action when they're ready. They won't always be ready. So that's why you wash markets with your marketing. So when they are ready. So let's switch over to selling and talk about how selling is different. Now, I want to make one point before we get into that and say, this is a key differentiator between marketing and selling. Marketing is the work you do to a market, meaning it's not people you don't know anybody's name. But when you're selling, you're always selling to a human now that has a name. And that it means they've entered into a different relationship with you. When you're marketing, you're pushing content out, hoping somebody sees it, and you don't know who's seeing it typically. Selling is when somebody's raised their hand out of that market and they said, hey, I think I'm one of the people you're talking to. I filled out your form. I want to talk to you about being a client. I'm interested. That is when selling begins. So all of these points are going to be about you as the owner of the firm talking to another person. And one thing you're going to do is educating. When you sell professional services, you have to educate a client market. That's why selling in a profession like ours takes time, because you have to educate. Often the most innovative firms are selling services that the client never asked them to buy. What does that mean? I'm going to explain that. So one of the tricks to pricing is when a client comes to you and says, I want you to help me with my compliance, accounting, payroll, VAT, whatever these clients are trying to get help with. You're, as an innovative firm, you want to turn around and try to sell them something that they need, but they didn't know to ask you to buy it. So for example, a client would come to us for tax and payroll and accounting. We're going to offer budgeting, cash flow management, or paying their bills, things they didn't know we did. We would offer it to them, and we have to teach them why it's valuable for them to offload a lot of those services to us. So that's how educating works. And so you're always typically trying to sell something the client didn't even ask you to buy because they don't know. They need education. You're selling to a qualified lead. Again, this is a human that's raised their hand and said, I am potentially one of your clients. And so you have to go through the process of qualifying them. So we like to say this: we choose our clients. Clients don't choose us. So I think there's a perception that clients choose their accounting firm, and that's not right. We want to be the professionals where we qualify the right client, make sure they're aligned with us, that we enjoy working with them, they're the right client profile, they're going to pay enough money, they're going to buy the services that we want to sell. Those are all very important. They have to be qualified. So it takes time to qualify. And we're going to be talking a lot about that in my next session on selling. And then when you're selling, you have to ask for money. That's part of the process. And you have to compare the money to the services. So those are simple, but let me talk about what those mean. You're going to see we like the idea of selling three options. Anytime I do any selling to a client, it's always done in three options: a high, a middle, a low. And we're going to see that a lot in my next session on selling. So it's really important that you come to that one. But when you're comparing a price for one option, you want to list all the services that go in that option. And then when you want to compare a price of the middle option, you want to list all the services that go in that. You want to make sure the client is clear that you are asking them to pay you money, and it's for this list of services. This is called pricing. And pricing is always done before the service is started. That's one key differentiator between pricing. Billing, on the other hand, is where you're asking for money after you've performed the service. We don't believe that's a very strategic way to do it, but most accounting professionals do it that way. So up front, we are really big proponents. We're big proponents of actually saying, here's the services, here's the money. We want you to buy this. And we want to talk about money up front. That's really key. All right, let's talk about the cloud, how the cloud and the clients are changing the marketing funnel. But first, I want to actually explain the marketing funnel. This is the marketing funnel. It's a very common funnel talked about in marketing courses and any kind of marketing language. This is 101. So I'm going to explain everything about marketing. You can tell it is called a funnel, right? Because if you're marketing to a broad market, a lot of people go into the top of the funnel and few people make it out the bottom. That's the goal. That's what you want, because not everybody is your client. So you have to put a lot of market into your funnel and filter them so that the right ones fall out the bottom. So let's kind of talk about these layers that people go through. And again, this is a market or clients that are going through this funnel. So the first thing they go through in marketing is an awareness of you, right? And so that means they're going to see some of your content scroll through a Twitter feed, or they're going to see some of your content on LinkedIn, and they go, oh, I've seen that firm before. They're becoming aware of you. And that's just the first step. They have to know you exist. That is the first step. And then they want to start showing interest. They go down a good bit deeper. And this is a different level, right? So you can see the funnel is narrowing. So fewer people are interested in your firm that are aware of your firm. That's true for every company. And then they start to go through the phases of consideration. They think, I wonder if this firm actually could be somebody I would change to. That's a different level of consideration. And then they start displaying intent. And that intent is when they start approaching you, maybe filling out forms on your website with the intent of speaking to you about your services. And then evaluation is typically when you've offered a proposal to them, and pricing, you've said, here's what we cost, here's what we can do. We believe you could be a great client of ours, and start to evaluate whether we are a right choice for you. And then, of course, they go through a purchase. Now, I want to talk about what marketing and selling used to look like in the past. So let's kind of say this band of awareness through a little bit of consideration is what we could call marketing. And then the rest of it was selling. Here's basically what this means. In the past, really before the cloud, before technology, when we were doing face-to-face networking, a lot of times, you had a lot more power to do selling. And so let me just say this out loud. We would prefer to do selling than marketing. Marketing is only there because we have to. The only purpose in marketing is to produce a client, right? That's what Peter Drucker says, the management guru. He says the only purpose in marketing is to produce a client. So we're trying to get a client to pay us. That's our goal. So what we want is to sell to them, because when we're selling face to face, we have the most power to influence somebody to purchase from us. Now, marketing is just something we have to do to make sure people know we exist. Now, that's the way it used to be. A lot of the awareness and interest and consideration, not much of it was done in the realm of marketing. We got to do more of the selling and the consideration intent, which is good. Now, in the more recent past with the cloud, we're seeing that marketing is a broader part of the funnel. And why is that? Because now all of our clients can do a lot more of their work online, right? They don't need us as much to do consideration and intent. So they're leveraging marketing now because of technology, the ubiquitous nature of technology, and the content that we push out. Those kind of things are allowing the client, the potential client, to look at marketing and let marketing influence them. That's not good. It means we have less power in the selling. So a lot of times when clients come to us already, they're in an intent phase. They've already started considering what they want, and they're now saying, hey, here's what I want you to do for me. Well, I don't want my client to do that. I want them to come asking me, what can you do for me, so I can educate them and really use my selling power to help them purchase the right thing. Hopefully purchase more valuable services that's more money for my firm. That's what I'm looking for. But this is just the way things are, right? Well, then you might say, well, then let's don't market as much. Let's stop putting out content so they can't do a lot of the interest, consideration, and intent online without us. But we can't do that anymore, right? Because now everybody pushes out content. We have to. Everybody does content, videos, blog posts, podcasts. Now we have to do it too, just like every other business in the world. So we have to push our content out. It's just the way the world is. The clients are going to now leverage marketing more to make their decisions before they ever come to us. So our job is a little bit harder when we're selling. Now, I want to talk about 3 ways to influence leads in that funnel. We just talked about, we have a little bit less power to influence. And I want to talk about what can we do very specifically. And I've already mentioned this originally, but branding now is a huge part of what we can do. So firms can now brand just like other companies can brand, and we should be branding. Brands set you apart. They say you're credible. They let you get your foot in the door. Your brand, your website is what you want, to be clients to actually use to influence them. Your website should be really good. It doesn't have to be complicated, but it should be good. It should have basic things like your pictures, your team pictures. Those are extremely important. We're a profession that works face-to-face with our clients. We shouldn't have websites that have no pictures on them and where you cannot find who the owner is. You do not want that in a professional firm. We are an intimate profession. We want people to see us, look at us, know our name, know our history, know the biographical information of who we are. So we always put the pictures of our team. We pay for professional photography. It makes us look better. It makes us stand out. And a lot of professional firms don't do that. So we automatically stand out because we do. Brands basically prove your value. When people go to the website doesn't often convince someone to buy from you, but if they're aware of you and they start to make the intent to purchase from you, they're going to go to your website and go, oh, the website's great. Now I know I'm going to buy from them. That's what you want your brand to do. So, and all I mean by brand is the title of a company. It's got to have a logo, and you've got to stand for something. I believe you should have a purpose statement. On our BlumerCPAs.com website, we have a whole purpose page. We really are telling clients, this is how you're going to have to align with us before we're going to work with you. We really press our brand really hard with our clients. Trust is a big part. That's a big part of marketing and selling, right? I think we all know that. Nobody's going to buy from you if they just don't trust you, especially the kind of work we do. So sales is face-to-face, it's human-to-human, and all that human-to-human work is very trust-based. Now, we love technology, right? We can't do our work anymore without cloud-based QuickBooks, those kind of things. We cannot do this work anymore across the countries we live in without strong technology. But technology helps us run more efficiently. It can't take away the need for one human to trust another one. So we'll always have that ability to do that. And then trust is the most significant aspect of your sales that you can commit to. Trust is really important in the sales process. So invest in building trust. Trust is slow, and so that's a big part of what we're going to talk about when we're talking about trust. Onboarding. This is something we've been working on for 15 years, probably. We've been building an onboarding process for 15 years. Onboarding your clients allows them to build huge trust in your business model. One thing, onboarding is a huge part of selling, and I'm going to talk a lot about onboarding in the next the selling class that I'm going to be given next at QuickFest. But onboarding is walking basically your clients through a process. It's a step-by-step process to believe in you. And we call them barriers to entry. We actually walk our clients through steps, and we have them do certain things like fill out this form, assent to the fact that you agree with this what we believe statement, these kind of things. Wait on us. We're not going to send you our proposal over email. We have to have a meeting. You have to talk to us first. All these requirements, they tell the client that we are serious about what we're doing. And what we're trying to do is build trust, and also trying to get the clients that don't align with us, we're trying to move them out of our selling process. That's really important. Again, we mentioned this. Onboarding produces slowness, and that's the key ingredient in building trust. And I think that's a main problem why many firms they struggle to grow, is because they have the wrong clients. That's a very foundational problem. If you're struggling to grow, a lot of times you have clients in your company you should not have. You've said yes to people you shouldn't have said yes to. Those clients become anchors. They hold back your growth because they won't change with you. They won't use your technology. They won't follow your processes. They won't work with your team appropriately. You can't have clients doing that and actually grow. So you have to have a better client base. So one way to have a great client base is to go very slow and never let the wrong ones in the first place. That is the most strategic part of firm building. We actually say the front door to your firm is the most strategic door, right? So we, in a sense, we keep that door closed. If anybody wants to get into our firm, they have to knock on the door, and then we barely open it to see who's out there. And then we tell them to fill out a form before we'll open the door the whole way. And a lot of these things, it might feel like it can be frustrating, but we're telling the client, hey, if you're right for us, we're gonna devote all of our resources and our team to serving you. But if you're not, we don't want to hurt you and try to force you into our model. So you do need to go find the right firm. So our goal is to slow them down and make a choice so we can pick them and say, we choose you to be our client. And then onboarding provides proof of the price you're charging. So when you're onboarding a client into your firm, you're eventually going to go through that onboarding process and you're going to price them. And they're going to go, if you're a high value firm like us, that's what we want to think we are. Our prices are higher than other firms. That's one way we differentiate ourselves, by making sure our prices are higher than other firms. That sets us apart. That's a very differentiating part of our influence for our clients. And when we price them, they have to believe there's value. They have to go, oh, wow, that's a big price. Do I want to pay that? Well, the onboarding we've been going through shows them that we're very strategic. We're very intentional. We care about them. We're very purposeful. So they start to see how we behave. And a lot of our clients say, actually, I want an onboarding process like you guys have. I really felt cared for. But now the wrong client, it annoys them. They're like, this is annoying. And we're like, yeah, we want you to go away. Now, we don't say that to them, but the onboarding process just guides the right client into our firm, and it pushes the wrong ones out. So onboarding is about filtering, and that's a really important part of what we're trying to do with our clients in this marketing. All right, let me hit real quick 4 creative marketing ideas for firms. I shared some of those in our initial history. Written content is where we would all start, right? So this is the easiest to do. These are blog posts, and you write them for clients, as we've mentioned. You got to consistently do it. And I'm going to end all of these 4 with a question. What landing page will you put those on? Now, it's always traditionally been good to put your written blog content on your own website, but there are a lot of other great content holders too. LinkedIn is a great place to put some of your written content. So you got to consider, where do I want my clients to go, or my potential clients? You really do want them to go to your website, because that's where they're going to open the door and fill out a form and request to be a client. Maybe they'll message you on LinkedIn. It just depends. But you got to figure out where the landing page is. Teaching content. Maybe you think you're ready to start teaching. This is reusable. So if you create a course, you can reuse it over and over again. So course creation is a big part of creating content that would attract clients. You got to choose the platform. There are learning type platforms that walk people through modules and answering questions, sometimes being with other people in a course. And then do you want to do it live or recorded? We do both. We do recorded courses where people can walk through them. We've done them for other sponsor providers of ours. We've done it for Intuit before, where we've recorded courses with them. And then we take a lot of our clients through our live courses too, that are based on some of our own curriculum. 3 is podcasting. This is a really popular one. We've been doing it combined, our 2 podcasts, well over 20 years we've been podcasting. So we have a lot of practice, very iterative. It doesn't look anything like it used to. You could go listen to some of our old podcasts and I might be embarrassed by some of the things you hear. But podcasting is so funny, but you're like a celebrity. If people have listened to our podcast a long time, they come on a call with us and they hear me talking, they're like, wow, I can't believe I'm getting to talk to you. I hear you on the radio all the time. So it's funny how people perceive you when they hear you, when they're doing laundry or they're working out or something, or driving and commuting. They think of you as some celebrity, and it's not true, but you get put in that category. It's pretty interesting. And then when you podcast, you got to choose your equipment and software. So I'm using a Rode microphone here, RODE. It's a bidirectional microphone, really basic microphone. And then a Sony camera. I have a special Sony camera. I don't use the cameras on my computers because those are generally not very good. So I get a Sony camera, put it through an adapter that plugs just into the back of the USB drive of my computer. So you got to know a little bit about equipment and software. And equipment and software takes maintenance. So sometimes it breaks or doesn't work and you don't know why. So you have to reboot it just like you do a computer. And then consistency is also key in podcasting. I mentioned that you want your podcast to come out same time every month or every week. Now, a lot of people start a podcast and they do one once a week. And we started a long time ago saying, we're going to grow. We're not going to have time to devote all of our resources and our time to content on a podcast because we knew it would take a lot of time. And so we've always done one show a month. Now, that means we probably don't get as much impact of it because we're not washing all of our podcast content onto our market. But I will say podcasting's grown so much in the past. One podcast we've been doing for 11 years. The past 11 years, podcasts have blown up. There's a lot of podcasts. So it's much more of a noisier market and platform. So we just have to consistently put out great shows, and I have to get better at interviewing and things like that. And this gives me time to do it. And so for podcasting, you got to find guests. That's something you probably don't want to do a podcast where it's only you all the time. I rarely do shows where it's only me because I can drone on and I don't know how to guide myself through that. It's always helpful to have another person I'm talking to. And then I've learned how to ask them good questions and how to eventually end the conversation. So you got to learn how to find guests. That's a part of it. And then live events is another thing you can do. And you got to prepare those well in advance and sell those to people, right? So if you do a live event, you could do it in person, locally, or you could do a platform online. Live events like Facebook Live, LinkedIn Live, Vimeo that holds videos, the platform Vimeo, it has a live feed. And these live feeds let you turn the camera on at a very specific time and you're live in front of everybody. And then people can show up. It's hard to do live events. You have to also be consistent and you have to be good on camera and you have to be good live. So as you're looking at this, I would say the most effective goes from left to right, right? So it becomes more and more effective as you move towards the right. So written content's great, but if you're able to teach and you have a market that will purchase teaching from you, that's even more powerful. Podcasting becomes even more powerful. And then live events are even more powerful. We do all of these and we've done all of these many years. I will say this, they also get harder as you move from left to right. Live events are extremely difficult to sell. So you have to really be extremely well known in your market to sell a live event. So we sell live events in Thrival and live events in Blumer, and people fly from around the world to come to our events. And that's taken a decade to create that. It takes so much time to do it. And it always starts small. We have a live event that started with, it'll start with 10 people, 8 people. And now it gets up to 100 people. It took a decade to get there. So you don't want to dive in too deep. You want to really pick the written content as a starting place. But all of these are great creative ideas and a lot of fun to dive into. So that is Marketing 101. If you're like, I gave you a lot of information. So if you want to dive into marketing more, just take that handout, start answering some basic marketing and positioning questions. Those are going to really help you know if you're ready actually to dive into marketing. And I would say, don't go too deep, too fast. Start with a little bit of content. Let yourself iterate and learn over time, because you'll always change. We're always changing and growing. We have so much to learn about different parts of it now that are more specific and complicated, and we've got to learn those parts. And so everybody is always iterating. And the thing about marketing is that you're always dealing with social media platforms. Those are always changing. You have to learn those. You have to start getting technical with figuring out how to get into the back end of those social platforms, how to build a website, how to maintain the website. All of these things come with marketing and branding and positioning. So start small, and you can have a pretty simple website and pop up a blog post once a month. So thank you so much for joining us for Marketing 101. I hope this is really helping you know how to move really into being a tech-forward, branded and positioned firm, so you can really do what we're all trying to do, which is take care of clients and be paid well to do it. That's our goal when we're marketing. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you in the next session.